started recording as well. So, like I was saying, I mean, today is pretty much just a day for me to continue working on Beto. Right now, I am showcasing a little bit of Electro Charge. It's not really the most effective way to deal damage because Vaporize and Melt just literally hit harder, right? However, they can still be pretty fun. They can still be pretty fun, and if you have the characters already built, or if you're looking to build up other characters to give you another way to enjoy the game, then you're definitely going to want to check this out. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over the build that we are using, or that I'm using, the team composition, and then I'll just go ahead and just hop around, kill some enemies, do some ley lines to help out Beto get some levels. She is currently only at level 71, forgive me, I just started building her recently, okay? Like, I had her since the child banner, and I just never really needed to build her, dude, because, like, I just had Diona, who already shielded for me, and it's like I had Fischl at C6 ever since the start of, like, the original Venti banner, right? So I'm just like, what do I really need to build an Electro sub DPS for if I already have an Electro sub DPS? Why would I need to build a shield character if I already have a shield character who can additionally heal? So it's like I didn't really need to make her, but now it's kind of the point where it's like, okay, well, I have this one built out, like built out, right? I have pretty much a lot of things built out, so I'm looking for new things to do. So that's what I'm like, okay, how about we stop like we don't really focus on what you need for Abyss because you already have all that stuff. You can start focusing on things that can give you some more enjoyment in general, some more playability. And that's why I started looking at those less meta, kind of more overlooked kind of things. So essentially, this is going to be Electro Charge Comp. So we're running 4-piece Noblesse Show. Personally, I like him as 4-piece Noblesse. You can also run him 2-piece Heart of Depth with 2-piece Noblesse Oblige. I only use him as 4-piece Noblesse because I tend to use him alongside DPS characters like Gan Yu and Hu Tao as well as D-Luke. So characters like these appreciate having Xingqiu to proc Vaporize, Melt, or Freeze. And it's like when you use his burst and then they're attacking, getting these reactions, he also provides them with an extra 20% attack for 12 seconds. So that's more than enough time for D-Luke to fire off a nice Vaporize burst and get off his E combo. Switch right back into Xingqiu, get the burst up again, or switch into someone else and let them do their thing, right? You can come back, do your E skill, get your sacrificial proc, and then continue to provide an attack buff and some more hydro procs to your teammates for them to do even more damage. Essentially, 2-piece Heart of Depth is better for Xingqiu if you want Xingqiu to be doing the damage. So if you want to run in with something like Festering Desire, right, alongside someone like Bennett, then you can like Bennett Burst, and then you can use Xingqiu with 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Heart of Depth, and use E with Festering Desire, and hit for like easy 100, 200k, maybe even 300k damage off of that single hit right there. So that's more like for a DPS Xingqiu. If you want a support Xingqiu, Noblesse Oblige is most definitely better than 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Hydro, as the damage bonus that you gain on Xingqiu's individual range swords throughout the duration of his ability is not going to make up for the fact that you have 20% attack boosting his own attack on the same ability that you're trying to boost with the 2-piece Hydro, but additionally your partner characters will also get a 20% attack bonus. So his range swords are still getting buffed, but then your teammates proccing reactions and doing other attacks and doing other things are also getting damage buff. So essentially, 4-piece Noblesse is the best for support Xingqiu, 2-piece Heart of Depth, 2-piece Noblesse is the best for DPS Xingqiu. If you want to run him support, Sacrificial Sword is best. If you want to run him as a DPS, then most of the 5-star swords do a really good job. Things like Jade Cutter gives you a nice crit rate so you can run a crit damage circle easily. Though Festering Desire, if you don't have 5-star swords, will do you just fine as well. Jade Cutter just gives you crit rate, essentially. But Sacrificial is pretty good for support. It's pretty much his best support set, best support weapon. As for his stats, he's running pretty modest stats, nothing insane, especially for a DPS. He's not really a DPS role, he's more of a support role, so he has like just over 50% crit rate just to give him some consistency on his burst. I feel like he has like maybe 6 range swords attacking the enemy simultaneously, so at least if 3 of those are critting, that's some respectable damage every time, but I'm finding that it crits pretty damn often, seems like it's more than half the time. So I guess that's just me being lucky, but either way, it's like energy recharge sands is what I'm using on him just to ensure that I can get my burst back up after I fire off my E skills. with the sacrificial, just so I can maintain my noblesse oblige bonus as much as I need to. Like for endgame content, this is really good because you can constantly keep it proc. So even if the enemy doesn't die after your 2 E hits, then it's like you can go into your other teammates, give them an attack bonus, and let them whack for even more damage. Now in open world, something like this is not as necessary given how he already does so much damage that he pretty much one taps them without even using the noblesse oblige bonus whatsoever. He can be running anything in the world. He can be running freaking Crimson Witch. Like literally what I'm saying is that the artifact set doesn't even matter on him because he's so freaking good in open world. Like to kill things in open world, he's actually so good, bro. He is so powerful and so versatile, bro. Like literally it doesn't matter what artifact set, it just matters the stats essentially. The artifact set is just like the bread and butter, which makes him so good. But it's like he's just so damn good in general that like with minimal investment, he is just great. And I had him C6 from like so long ago. Like how do I find it? I want to see if you can find out when you got the character. Let me see. Is it character selection or is it character archive? I think it's character archive. Let me see. Joined on 10/3. So that is October 3rd. So yeah, like when the game was first releasing on the very first Venti banner, I got both of these guys in October. I also got Diluc in October as well. So like I had Venti, Diluc, and Xingqiu from the very start of the game, so I was fully aware of his ability to be an amazing support for Pyro DPS characters to provide really good DPS. And there are people who didn't even know about that up until like November, December. You know, and it wasn't until that happened that people were like, oh shit guys, check out Xingqiu, he's busted. I'm like, took y'all long enough to figure out Kek W. But yeah, like honestly, Xingqiu is such a great support character, and for Electro Charge teams, he is easily bread and butter because he helps battery things like Mona, who can now run a more offensive set like 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Heart of Death, as well as an attack sand instead of recharge sands. So now that gives her extra damage on her burst as well as her auto attack. So she can be auto attacking for nice hydro damage, while Xingqiu is also applying extra rain swords, right? Applying hydro damage as well, not creating any reaction. So if you want to react with another element, you can, such as Electro for the Electro charge. But additionally, as she's attacking with all this hydro, she's regenerating more energy particles for her. So that makes up for her not running a recharge sands, because now she's able to pick up kills much easier by using the extra attack bonus from Xingqiu, in addition to getting the extra power from 2-piece Heart of Depth and then 2-piece Noblesse, boosting up her burst and stuff. So she can easily regenerate her energy, and then he can easily regenerate his energy as well. So these two as a core are really self-sustained. And then essentially these two by themselves are pretty damn good in any team, give or take. Like Beidou I think requires a little bit more support than Fischl, but when they're with each other, they support each other really well. Just given how now you can run Fischl more offensively with of course the Skyward Harp is our best weapon. No, if you have something like a Stringless for a sub DPS, that is their second best weapon, and it will still provide you with really consistent damage for her abilities. For her auto attacks, it won't be as powerful of course, but it will still give you a nice foundation to work with. Alright, there's nothing wrong with Stringless. So with that being said, like I only went ahead and gave her like 20% energy recharge. Even without Beidou, she does really well because Oz regenerates electro particles specifically. I gave her 2-piece Bloodstain, 2-piece Gladiator, along with Electro Goblet, so that she's able to do more sub DPS damage when she's off the field with Electro damage, but then when she's on the field, she does extra damage with Bloodstain Chivalry, giving her a physical attack damage bonus. Being Electro type, she can also easily proc Superconduct alongside characters like Ganyu, whose burst is AoE oriented. So essentially, if I wanted to per se swap out Mona for someone like Ganyu, which I was doing earlier, that also works really well because Xingqiu is self-sufficient. He can regenerate all his energy that he needs for his burst by himself by simply using Sacrificial Sword. So at that point, you can just go ahead and use Ganyu, my bad. She's also self-sustained as well, minus C1, but either way, she is pretty damn good to self-sustain herself, but with C1, essentially, she can just spam charge attacks and regenerate energy for herself without using a battery. So, like, you can still use someone like Diona, but of course that requires you to sacrifice someone else in the party. But either way, I still like using her with Diona. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just kind of changes things up a little bit. If I were to use Diona, it would be like more like Shingsho, Ganyu, Official, and Diona type of deal if I wanted to allow Official to capitalize on Superconduct. By being able to freeze and proc cryo on enemies between these two, and then additionally I would just get extra physical damage between Superconduct and the Bloodstained Chivalry, and then when she's off the field, then Gladiator's Finale attack bonus applies to both her Electro abilities as well as her physical attacks on her autos, right? And physical attacks are pretty useful because Skyward Harp does have a nice proc, so it really does depend on the weapon that you use. Like as I was saying, Stringless is specifically for elemental skill, elemental burst damage, and it gives you elemental mastery. So you have less crit rate, you have less base attack. It's just weaker overall, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not as good as Skyward Harp. So when you have Skyward Harp, it does enable you to do a little bit more, but I would say if you only have a Stringless, then she is definitely best suited as a sub DPS, and I wouldn't really recommend main DPSing her with Stringless, as that sub stat that you get isn't really gonna improve her main DPS potential too much. You feel me? It's really, really good for sub DPS. That's like perfectly fine for sub DPS, but for main, it's not as good. And I personally don't even main her, even though this weapon is really damn good for that. I still sub her. You know, it's just that since it is good enough to run her as a main, it allows me to keep her nice and versatile. And that's why I like this weapon, and I think that Official is a really, really amazing character. She is easily one of my favorite, if not my actual favorite, and I liked her from the very start when I first pulled her on Venti Banner because I got her at C6 from the start, and she was just really useful. You know, she was able to attack alongside my characters and just provide extra damage, so I really liked her, and I continue to enjoy using her as well. So Electro Charge in general, as I was saying, isn't like the most powerful elemental reaction, in the sense that its damage multiplier isn't as high as Vaporize and Melt. So that's why it is constantly overlooked as not really good. You know, it's not really the best to use if you want to kill things, etc. And honestly, I'm not going to argue with that because that's a fact, right? However, if you are a person like me now who's already went ahead and built up like pretty much the best pyro DPSs, your best cryo DPS is like, okay, well I already have Vape and Melt, so now what am I supposed to do? So this is who I'm trying to show you guys, like who I'm trying to appeal to. Once you guys are at that point where you already built the best shit, you already built what is literally worth building, there are other things which might not be as good but can still give you a lot of fun, some extra playtime, and that is what I'm showing you guys today. So first will be a little bit of Mona mixed up with just pretty much dual Hydro and dual Electro. This team has no shield besides Beidou, and it has no healing besides Shingsho. So you can call it like it keeps you a little bit more on your toes, in the sense that you kind of got to counter more to avoid taking serious hits on your team. You got to dodge a little bit more, but honestly at this point in the game you should be already familiar with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're working with Electro Charge comps, you know, if you're literally handicapping your damage on your reactions, you know, if you're literally not running a shield and stuff, you should be at that point where you're already comfortable enough to pull that stuff off more effectively, right? This is not really for those who are faint of heart or those who have limited options. You know, this is for people who already have a lot of stuff built out, who are much closer to endgame and just want some more playability, some more things to do. So moving on with Beidou, currently I'm using her with 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Thundering Fury. You have options of also using 2-piece Noblesse if you want to main her as a burst character, a burst support. That's also really, really solid. She gets really consistent damage from that as well. I am using this for the extra consistency instead, because Thundering Fury boosts up my electro damage and Gladiator boosts up my electro damage as well as my auto attack damage. Since I plan on using her alongside Shingsho, I can only trigger the rain swords when I'm auto attacking or using my E skill. I don't even know if the E skill triggers it, but I know auto attacking does. So essentially, the whole time that I have Noblesse Oblige active, if I'm not auto attacking with her, then his extra damage doesn't do jack shit because he is not using his rain swords. So essentially you either have to attack with her to get that extra bonus, or you just waste the uptime of Noblesse, essentially. So at least, given Beto's somewhat poor auto attack DPS, given how long her stance takes to execute, what I mean by that is like her attack animations are pretty slow. So like to make up for that, Noblesse Oblige would also give her an extra attack bonus. So she's hitting even harder than just her own power because she gains extra attack from this guy. So now a slow attack now can turn into something which generates more momentum for you, because now you're able to stack on an extra attack power boost onto your normal attack while also gaining extra damage from his burst. So now it's not too much of a waste to be auto attacking. Now I don't recommend that as your main source of DPS on this team in particular, given how Fischl does more per auto attack. However, if you have Fischl up and you use her E, now Oz is on the field. So you have Oz in addition to Xingqiu with Noblesse active. That means that her auto attacks are now regenerating electro energy particles because Oz is thrown in the mix. In addition to applying Hydro, you're now getting crowd control CC electro charged. So you're getting more electro energy particles, you're doing additional damage due to Noblesse Oblige. So now her whole slow attack speed animation is now turning into her battering herself using Fischl, her buffing her attack bonus due to Xingqiu, and then Xingqiu also additionally boosting Oz's power, who again, well actually no, Oz is not limited to whether or not your character attacks. He will attack regardless of whether or not you attack. But Xingqiu on the other hand, you have to attack in order for him to attack. So again, it's like this just enables everyone to fulfill a type of role without being dead weight, without being wheelchair in other terms. Essentially, no one in this team is really too wheelchair. If anything, Beta was the closest to wheelchair in this team, just given how our auto attacks don't do much without support from Burst, E. You know? Because even if Mona's Burst is up, yeah, sure, it does more damage from auto attacks, but again, Fischl will always out damage in terms of auto attacks regardless, because with the same buffs active, she just does more damage. So at that point, you would only be using Beto to be regenerating energy particles, and that's exactly where this team will help her shine. Because the extra damage from Xingqiu will allow you to pick up kills much easier, and even if you don't factor that, it's like after you use her burst, after you use Beto's burst, you are free to normal attack, and with her constellation, if you do take damage, where is the constellation? I think it's C4. Yeah, if you take damage, then you also gain extra electro damage. So essentially, picking up kills on that gives you some more energy recharge for your electro abilities, for your burst. So you're able to get your burst up even sooner. So you can go ahead, take damage, normal attack, and you can use your E skill to counter and then get more electro particles. So it's much more self-sustained. And for this kind of a role, I'm using the Skyward Pride. Now, if you want to DPS her, then something like a Wolf's Gravestone would be doing more damage, though for me, I keep her more of a sub-DPS role, and I really only switch her in when I'm needing to take an attack. So I'm going to show you guys how the team works, essentially. So, I don't main DPS her, personally. As I said, I sub her, so I mostly just switch her in. She does her charge, she does her E, she does her burst, she switches out. If someone's going to attack me, I switch her in. If her E is on cooldown, I don't even use her. Because what's the point of using her to take a hit if she can't even counter it back? At that point, you're better off just straight up dodging. If you can't dodge, you're better off iframing it with an ability. And Xingqiu is the most consistent for that. Same thing with Mona, given how they both have extremely good energy recharge. Not saying that these two are bad for it, it's just that they're not as good because her energy cost is 80. So, it just takes a little bit more to get her up. And that's why Skyward Pride is amazing on her. And you guys are going to see what you're capable of doing with just a basic build of like 152 recharge, 156 crit damage, 52% crit rate, absolutely no mastery whatsoever. Basic level 70 build, alright, nothing insane. Everyone can achieve this. Even if you were to use something like a sacrificial great sword instead of a Skyward Pride, this also works amazingly as that specific role, as the sub DPS support role. The reason why I say that is because imagine an enemy hits you and you use your E to counter them, and then this procs. Now you get the ability to counter again. So that's crazy because her counters are easily able to do 30k, 40k damage with 4-star weapons. Not even 5-star, 4-star weapons. Alright? So if you are getting a cooldown, right, and then the cooldown ends instantly, essentially you're able to launch another one within the next 4 seconds. That is insane DPS. So the sacrificial greatsword on her for a sub DPS role is actually something not to be slept on. You know, for a main DPS stuff like that, yeah, Wolf's Gravestone will indeed outperform. Even Serpent Spine, if you're looking to main DPS her for like auto attacks and stuff like that, then yeah, those are going to outperform, you know. And in terms of raw damage per individual hit, then Wolf's Gravestone will be above pretty much everything due to its passive and then its substat. However, its consistency is going to be lacking. And the reason why I say that is because you will be lacking energy recharge until the point where you're going to have to run a battery like Fischl alongside her just to maintain the ability to utilize her really good abilities. Because if you don't have the energy recharge to do it, then you're really just stuck using her as a counter character. And that's about it, because her burst won't even be up half the time without the recharge. So again, it really just comes down to, you know, understanding the mechanics and just trying to think of a role and then building it best suited to that role. So there's many ways to play pretty much every character. You know, some characters are really just best only one way, but most of them can be built other ways. Like, you can run this one physical DPS, or you can run this one as just shield support, geo damage, burst support, whatever you want. Same thing here, you can run this one with like Viridescent, or you can run this one with Gladiator, etc, etc. Like, personally, I run Jean with Jade Cutter physical DPS, and then I stopped doing that because I found that she's just outclassed as a physical DPS by other characters, you know. So at that point, I'm just gonna build her with 4-piece Viridescent now and just use her as a debuffer and healer support. But anyways, let's go on ahead and just hop right into the Electro Charge Showcase, and then I can show you guys how she synergizes well with Ganyu for the Superconduct. So we'll go on ahead and start off with this side. We're just gonna be going around just kind of chilling, you know, nothing too crazy. Yeah, so we have 4-piece Noblesse on Xingboy over here, and I don't really have any reliable healing on this team outside of Xingshou's Ring Swords, and then no reliable shielding as well. So it's going to be relying mostly on iframing and just dealing good damage, you know, and that's really all you have to do. It's just a matter of timing it, essentially, and they can also regenerate each other pretty damn well. So I still have an E-charge left on our boy here. Can also go ahead and use Mona a little bit. Alright. As you can see, you can still do this without really taking damage, without a shield. If I did manage to get scratched there though, then Xingqiu will come to the rescue, right? But the key is to just consistently use your abilities as an elemental team in order for you to regenerate your energy so that you get the iframe. Characters like Fischl, on the other hand, she doesn't get iframes on her burst, but she gets to regenerate energy. So that's useful for scenarios where you can't really avoid iframing too much. Like, you can't really avoid taking damage in the first place, and then you kind of have to rely a little bit more, you know? Rely a little bit more on actually taking the hit, and then you can just go on ahead and use a bonus, you know? So that's showcasing Noblesse Xingqiu. I just enjoy using Mona Sprint, honestly. And also, shield cancelling, not shield cancelling, dash cancelling is also really nice too. Mona's taunt is extremely useful. Mona burst is also pretty solid for DPS. As you can see, I really only need to use beta when I need to take hits. You know, like if it's more unavoidable type of game. Go ahead and give me some energy here. Xingqiu E. and energy is really efficient. You can see on my team, Beto is almost back at max, Xingqiu is at max, Mona is at max, Fischl is at max, right? So like Fischl could now use her burst, and then she loses all of her energy. Beto now gets her burst back up. So now Beto is now in Electro mode. Your whole team is in Electro mode now, pretty much, since you have the shield around you. Also applying electro damage, helping out with electro charge procs, and then your E helps you regenerate electro particles, which, since your off-field characters gain a fraction of those particles, Fischl gains more than Mona and Xingqiu would off of getting electro skill hits off because she's an electro character, right? So, we can go ahead and use a little bit of this. You can dodge those. Use E here, and there goes Beto's energy. Really swift takeouts. The key is to use Xingqiu and his sacrificial, as well as Noblesse, to give your entire team a attack bonus. Really swift takeouts. Really swift takeouts. Essentially. Oh, I ended up missing here, but it's fine. As you can see, that what's it called? The 2 skirmisher would have been killed as soon as you freaking spawned. So as long as you're not stupid and make mistakes like me, right, then effectively you would have abilities to proc your sacrificial and just maintain more damage uptime, right? But it's fine. I can just go ahead and use a little bit more Xingqiu, and that allows me to regenerate the health that I lost for my mistake, right? Because I was put into a scenario now where I was pretty much left on a cooldown for my skill. I never regenerated any energy for using the skill, and it was just really bad, right? Because I literally missed my attack, whereas if I landed it, enemy would have died and I would have just had my bonus. So this team is really solid, and it really just comes down to your own ability to ensure that you're doing your combinations correctly, you're not making mistakes in your orders and stuff like that. It's so much more of a, I guess you can call it an end game or pro kind of a team, you know, where it's like it requires you to utilize mechanics a little bit more specifically. You know, you're not really able to just simply like, oh, I missed my ability, I have a shield though, so it's okay, I can just, you know, just wait for my ability to come back, or just spam auto attacks until my ability is done cooling down, because you know, it's not like I can take damage or anything. You know, not trying to make it seem that that's all brain dead and shit. That's honestly like one of the best ways to play, just given how it's a fact. Like, it doesn't matter, you can fucking be here eating some food while the opponents are doing attacks and you don't take shit for damage. This is a little bit more on the edge in the sense that you constantly have to be either countering or dodging to avoid taking damage, because there's no other way for you to avoid taking damage, right? But it doesn't really mean that the team is bad, it's just not as good in, like, protecting you, you know? So it keeps you a little bit more on your edge, it requires a little bit more proactiveness, right? Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that you can't be as brain dead, right? Can't be as brain dead. So let's go ahead and activate Xingqiu. Beto counter. You can also Mona taunt a little bit. Just dodge those. You're just a little bit closer than Xingqiu. Wouldn't have missed that, but I feel like everyone's already at max. Yeah, everyone's at max here, so as you can see, this team is really effective at regenerating their energy, and even with like little mistakes like I'm constantly doing, as you can see, it doesn't punish you too severely. It doesn't punish you too severely. You just lose like small nicks of HP. You know, it's only if you just make a huge ass mistake, which honestly, you probably won't do if you just simply play, you know, and just get used to using it. So honestly, don't sleep on Electro Charge. Like, don't just assume that as horrible, you know, because it requires a little bit more proactiveness, you know. It's really not so horrible. You know, it's not like the worst thing in the world. It just requires more proactiveness, that's all. If you don't want to put an effort, I understand. There are many times where I don't want to put an effort either, you know. But then there are some times where it's more like it has nothing to do with the effort. It's just like you just want something new, want to play with something different, and then, well, here you go, right? So, I mean, Xingqiu individually with Noblesse can easily just clean up teams by himself, but if I wanted to regenerate more energy for Beidou, a simple E skill would do the trick for her, and her burst is right back up. But Xingqiu isn't even like maxed out. I should tell you my talent levels. Like his normal attack is still like a level 6. You see, like I didn't level this up too much. Like I can level up right now. I don't really care about that. You know, I don't really use it too much. I would like to get his rain sword, this one, up another level, so I'll have to go ahead and farm one of these actually. That will be something I do in the near future. Mona is currently at 878. Alright, 878. Vishal is currently at 9, 13, and 12, so her E has been crowned. And then Beidou is currently at 4, 9, and 9. She's the most recent character I started building, so she doesn't have as high talent levels. Alright. So that is just a quick demonstration of like how the Electro charge comp works. So they're really able to battery each other, and they are providing really solid supports between their abilities and their artifact sets, because none of them really overlap, you know, like one just provides a buff for the entire team, the other one provides a buff for its individual damage type, and the other one provides a buff for its individual damage type, and then like I should show you guys what I mean by that when I say that. So like this one provides a buff for the entire team. This one provides a buff for its individual damage type, right? Hydro damage, Noblesse Burst. This one specifically highlights Mona herself. This one highlights Fischl herself. Gladiator for electro damage and physical damage. Bloodstain for physical damage. Beidou highlights herself as well. Gladiator for electro and physical damage. Thundering Fury for electro damage. Right? You can run Thundering Fury over Bloodstain or Gladiator here, but then you lose out on physical damage bonus, which she does appreciate. So you can also go Bloodstain, Thunder Fury as well, which is not bad, but then you just lose a little bit of damage on your physical as well. So it just depends, right? Given how you already have electro damage, a lot of electro damage from Beidou, that's her main thing. It's better off just investing in like the electro here and then running this one as physical. However, this one increases exponentially when you have her alongside Ganyu, which is what I was doing. I'm really added in Mona to stay true to the electro charge comp, because technically if you add in Ganyu, it's no longer just electro charge, it's now a mix of electro charge and superconduct, which I think is better, because now you can have Ganyu burst up and you can freeze enemies, and then her E can apply superconduct to enemies, so now her physical attacks do even more damage, but you still get the versatility of battering each other. You still get the ability to battery yourself, and you have the ability to sustain your own DPS with your own charge attacks, because she doesn't need nobody else to help her kill things. She just charges, they die. Just individual. That's just, she's just one girl army. So that team is also fucking busted, you know? And it's not as busted as something like, oh, freaking Xingqiu, Hu Tao, Bennett, Zhongli. I'm not calling it busted, you know? I'm not calling it like, oh, look at this damage. No. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's more like it's busted in the sense that, like, you can highlight every individual member's skills. They are able to bring out their strengths, and they're able to capitalize on their strengths without limiting each other. They all synergize really, really well, and with that synergy, it allows them to perform at a level which is fun, consistent, and actually viable. You know, it might not be as high of a level as something like Xingqiu, Hu Tao, Bennett, Zhongli in terms of DPS, in terms of protection, like Zhongli's shield that offers freaking resistance shred, all that stuff. Like, yo, we're not going there. I'm not trying to make it seem like this team is better than a team like that. It's not, it has nothing to do with like that. It's more like when you already have those characters built up, right? When you already have those characters built up, what do you do now? Well, there are other things that you can use that were constantly overlooked, but they are still viable, they're still usable, and they are fun. You know, don't be a meta slave. You know, don't be a meta slave who only thinks that if it's like, if not everyone else is using it, that is bad. You know, it's not the case. It's more like they either require more investment or they're just not as good, you know. But like, only things that are like objectively bad would have to be things that are like literally just outclassed, and so far nothing here is like outclassed to an extent where it doesn't make any sense using, you know. Like we can all talk about Chi-Chi if you want to bring her up, right? Like you remember back in the day when like her freaking this talent here was like unique to Chi-Chi in the sense that like when you had to farm Liyue resources for your battle pass, it was like actually a benefit to have her because then she would highlight them on your map. Well, Yanfei is like, it would be a shame if I were to be released. It would be a shame if someone were to come by and take what was unique to you, right? And just give it to people for a much cheaper price because she is a 4-star character. She is much easier to obtain given how she was a raid up on a banner. Chi never had a raid up on a banner. So it's harder to get her. Yet it's harder to get something which offers you the same thing as something that's easier to get. But wait, she's a 5-star. But wait, she's a healer. But wait, she's a cute lolly. But wait, like, what are you talking about, bro? We have Diona. We have Diona, bro. She's given to you for free. So now, Chi-Chi is only effective when you take damage, because in order for you to heal, you gotta have health taken away. If your health is not taken away, you can't heal. Diona, on the other hand, she heals, but she also shields. So you're not even taking damage in the first place. That already makes her better. And then additionally, if you get damaged, if your shields break, if the attack is too much for you and it breaks the shield and you take damage, or if you're just an idiot and forget the shield or you whatever, she can additionally heal you on top of providing shields. She can heal you too. When she was released, Chi-Chi became a fucking joke. When Yanfei was released, Chi-Chi became an even bigger fucking joke. Alright? That's what we're talking about. Like, now you can run Chi-Chi, but at that point it's like, you have Diona. If you want to apply cryo consistently, sacrificial bow is much easier to use. Because as soon as you damage with them with a skill, you have a chance to end your own cooldown. You regenerate more energy than Chi-Chi. So as a battery, you're more effective. So now you can battery your main DPS like Ganyu. She can freely charge enemies without worrying about them attacking you because you're protected by a shield. Like, literally what I'm talking about is there are characters who are fundamentally outclassed to a point where it doesn't even make sense using them in the first place. And there are characters who are outclassed to a point where it's like, it doesn't make sense to build them until you've already built the characters who do their roles better. Once you already have those characters built, then you can move on to start building these ones. Not saying that Beto is bad. Like, if you're one of those people who only have Beto and you don't have these better options to do like main sub DPS like C6 official or whatever, then it's like, yeah, Beto is amazing. I'm telling you that, I'm showing you that. But of course, it's not like she's a priority to build over other like characters who are like extremely useful, you know? Like these characters, I don't know. Anyways, it's like super Electro Charge isn't too bad, you know? Electro Charge isn't too bad. It's just in comparison to other like other reactions, it's just objectively worse in terms of what it offers you, right? So that's all I wanted to share with you guys, is that there are other things out there. If you just kind of think outside of the box of meta and you just kind of look at kits and what artifacts offer you and like kind of what weapons you have on hand, you might be able to create some cool, interesting synergies that you might not have really thought would be effective, you know? So it really just comes up to your own perspective, you know, your ability to perceive these hidden potentials. Just gonna go ahead and regenerate some energy from Mona, just like that. Alrighty. Oh, looks like my internet is. Oh no, it didn't cut out. I thought it did. We count them. Okay. As you can see, their energy is pretty damn good. That's off of one enemy kill, by the way. One enemy kill. So like now we can just assume that the enemy never died. That's like just one death particle. You feel what I'm saying, right? Like when they die, they don't give you so much. What you really gain is off of using the skill itself. Like when you use Xingqiu's E, regardless if they die or not, you're getting the skill's energy in hydro particle form, right? So that really batteries up Mona. So regardless if they die or not, you're really only missing that extra smidge. So like if there's an extra enemy there and I killed them, then Mona, maybe Beto for sure would be max, maybe Mona. But that's the whole point of it, is like if you just simply say that Mitchell did not die just now after my end of my chains, Xingqiu was already pretty much at max. Fischl has her burst up, so that already allows Beidou to finish herself off in terms of burst, allowing you to get another burst up, allowing you to iframe another attack, allowing you to save more time to get that E skill on cooldown, allowing you to counter another attack, allowing you to regenerate more energy to help battery back up Fischl and Beidou. All the while, Xingqiu's noblesse bonus is active, Mona's tonic potential to be active, apply more hydro damage. It is fucking filthy. The synergy that you can get off of these characters is ridiculous. And of course it doesn't do as big damage, but it gives you something else to do, something else to use, and it's really fun. I personally just like to toy around with a lot of different builds and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be showcasing a bunch of different builds for you guys, like different team combinations, and the next one will indeed be Superconduct. Not really Superconduct, more like Electro Charge and Superconduct. So I can go on ahead and toss in some Ganyu in here, put some Ganyu love, right? Because we all know that she's amazing. Actually, no. What I'll do is I'll make that a separate video, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off Beidou. I'm gonna take off Beidou. I'm gonna run Diona in here, and I'm gonna kind of focus this team instead around Battery and Ganyu to allow Ganyu to keep her burst up a little bit more frequently, so that Fischl can just simply be keeping her E up and using her auto attacks when you don't really want to be wasting time using charge attacks. And then Xingqiu is self-sufficient. He can sustain his own abilities using Sacrificial, and Diona again is just there to help heal your team, but you don't really need healing. It's more so to protect you from taking damage, so you can freely just attack and charge with Ganyu. So Diona enables Ganyu much better than Beidou, so for that reason I would recommend using Diona over Beidou on this team. So at that point you're not really looking so much for Beidou's shielding, Beidou's energy regen, because Fischl again, like, as long as she has her E up, then she is able to apply Superconduct, right? And without Superconduct, her damage is absolutely laughable in comparison to what Ganyu can offer. So at that point you're better off just simply having Xingqiu's burst up, Diona applying crowd to freeze them, and then Ganyu just simply spamming charge attacks, right? If you need to freeze an enemy like they're really bulky, you can always just normal attack with Ganyu and then freeze with either Diona's E or Ganyu's charge or Ganyu's E to then hold them in place and then help you regenerate more energy. And then that allows Fischl to regenerate energy while she's off the field, right? Because Oz could be up, Oz could not be up, it doesn't really matter. But again, team compositions can easily change, you know, easily change if you're just running some sort of reaction, you know. As long as you're running some sort of reaction, then generally, as long as you just build them to complement each other in terms of their weapons and their sets, then you're pretty much good, right? Oof. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Ganyu is kind of a one gal team. That's why I didn't want to really use her originally, because it's like, yeah, I could showcase Electro Charge, but if you have Ganyu, it's like, who cares if you can do this with Electro Charge if you can just one-shot them using Ganyu? Why am I gonna freaking put in all this effort and like build all these fucking just do this and it dies? You know, it's like, well, yeah, that's true, bro. I'm not arguing that, and that's literally why I'm like, we're not gonna incorporate her on that team, because at the end of the day, if you have her on that team, she still outshines everybody. You know, at least on this team, it's like, she can literally have a place, because now it's like, once Fischl's E is spent and her Q is spent, it's like, now she's a little bit more dead weighty in the sense that now you can rely on Ganyu and not feel like, oh, I have other options that I should be using. Now it's like, okay, Fischl doesn't even have Superconduct up, it doesn't really make sense to use her. So now I can confidently use Ganyu, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and showcase this team in another video, and you guys can check it out and see how it performs against these guys. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be going ahead to upload some more Genshin content for you guys. Peace out. What a naughty Geo Bishop, dude. I was just about to pause this and he fucking landed hit on me. What a way to end the video, you know those ones?